I discovered something that completely changed the way I think about frequency, about manifestation, and about why certain things in my life kept hitting the same ceiling no matter what I did. There are two layers to your frequency, and almost everyone in the manifestation space is only talking about just one of them. The layer most people work on is real, it matters, but it's never going to be enough on its own because the second layer is always louder, always running underneath, always selecting the reality you actually experience, regardless of what you're doing on the more surface layer. Today, I want to walk you through both of these layers, what they are, how they work, and most importantly, how to actually shift the frequency that is generating 95% of your results. Because when you understand this distinction, really understand it, everything changes. Not just how you think about frequency, how you think about every pattern in your life, and what you actually need to do to change those patterns permanently. If you're new here, welcome and hello. Thank you so much for joining me. I am your Muse Traci. On this channel, I help you unlock the power you already have but can't access. I help you break through where years of trying has failed. And the biggest hurdle of all, I help you go from intellectually knowing the law to permanently embodying it. I spent years being a good person who couldn't figure out why her life wasn't reflecting that back. When I finally discovered what was actually running the show, everything in my life changed. Now I help people break the patterns keeping them stuck. And I help them start manifesting the love, the money, the joy they've always known they were meant for. Let's start with what frequency actually means at the deepest level, because I think the way it gets taught in most spaces is somewhat incomplete in a way that keeps people stuck. And I'm all about getting you unstuck, putting the power back into your hands where it belongs. So the most common version goes like this. High vibe equals good feelings equals good manifestations. Low vibe equals bad feelings equals bad results. So the prescription is feel better, think more positive thoughts, choose gratitude, raise your vibration. And while emotion is absolutely a key component of frequency, it is nowhere near the whole picture. Here's the distinction that changed everything for me. Your frequency is not your mood. It's not your emotional state in any given moment. It's the sum total of what you believe to be true about yourself, about life, and about what's available to you. It is the energetic signature of your entire inner world. Your conscious thoughts, yes, but more importantly, your subconscious assumptions. The blueprint you built about yourself in the earliest years of your life, your nervous system's baseline state of what feels normal, what feels safe, and what feels like home. And it operates on two distinct layers. Layer one, the surface frequency. Your surface frequency is your emotional state in any given moment. It shifts with your circumstances, you might have noticed. It can shift with your practices, your morning routine, your mood. You can move your surface frequency with a meditation, a walk, a gratitude practice, a conversation. Surface frequency work is real, like I said before. It matters, it has its place, and unfortunately, it's as far as most manifestation teachings go. And they focus almost exclusively at this layer. But it's just the surface. Layer 2 is what I call the root frequency. Your root frequency is something completely different. It's the signal broadcasting from your subconscious blueprint, from the beliefs formed in childhood about what you deserve, what is safe, what love looks like, and what is available to you. From the assumptions so deeply embedded, you stopped hearing them as assumptions and you just accepted them as this is how it is. It's the operating system, as I call it. Root frequency doesn't shift because you felt better for an afternoon. It runs continuously under everything, whether you're actively doing techniques or not, whether you're meditating daily or not, whether you're feeling good today or not. And here's the piece that changes everything. Your root frequency is always louder than your surface frequency, always. You can be doing all the right things on the surface, the affirmations, the visualizations, the high vibe content, the gratitude practice, and your root frequency can be broadcasting something completely different underneath all of it. And your reality will always come back to matching the root every single time without exception. I know this because I lived it. For years, I was someone who managed their surface pretty well. I was very determined. I had the practices, I had the tools, I showed up consistently, and certain things in my life, especially love relationships, kept hitting the same ceiling no matter what I did on the surface. The pattern was too consistent, too precise to be just bad luck. It was my root frequency, of course, showing me exactly what I was broadcasting underneath all of my conscious efforts. This is why people do years of surface level techniques and still keep hitting the same walls. Not because the techniques don't work, they do work temporarily. It's because they have been working exclusively on the surface while the root frequency continues to run unchanged underneath. That's the distinction that changes everything, and it's where we're going to spend the rest of this video. So once you understand the difference between surface and root frequency, something powerful becomes available to you. You can use your outer reality as a precise, accurate reflection of what your root frequency is actually broadcasting. Here is what is always true. Your reality is not happening to you. It's always being generated by you, specifically by the frequency of your inner world at the root level, which means every pattern, every recurring experience, every ceiling you keep hitting is actually data. It's useful information. It is your root frequency made visible in the physical world. And when you start reading it that way, not as evidence of your failure, not as punishment, not as bad luck, not as just the way the world is, but as precise and accurate feedback about what you are currently broadcasting at the root, it becomes extremely useful information. Let me show you what this looks like in actual practice. If you keep attracting partners who are emotionally unavailable, that is your root frequency showing you something about what feels familiar in love, about subconsciously expect from intimacy, about whether you truly believe at the root level that you are worthy of someone who is fully present and fully choosing you. If money keeps slipping through your fingers, no matter how much comes in, that is your root frequency showing you a belief about scarcity and abundance, about whether abundance is safe, about whether you deserve to hold and grow what comes to you. If you keep hitting a ceiling on your success, your ability to be fully seen in your work, that is your root frequency showing you old programming about whether it's safe to shine. whether taking up space is allowed, whether the world can handle the full expression of who you are. Your reality is always the match, always. It cannot be anything other than the match. That is the law. And when you truly get that, when you stop fighting your reality and start reading it, you become extraordinarily empowered because now you know exactly where the root work needs to happen. You don't have to guess at what's holding you back. Your life is literally showing you all the time, clearly, precisely, with perfect accuracy and zero judgment. The question is simply, are you willing to see it? So, where does your root frequency actually come from? How does it get established? And why is it so persistent, even when you're consciously doing everything right? And the answer is your childhood experiences. Before you were 7 years old, your subconscious mind was operating like a sponge, absorbing everything in your environment without a filter. No evaluation. Everything was just going in. The messages you received about your worth, about whether love was safe, about whether there was enough money or security, about what you had to do to belong and be accepted and be loved. Those messages didn't just influence you, they became the programming operating underneath your personality. The assumptions so deeply embedded that you stopped experiencing them as assumptions and started experiencing them as simply the way it is. That's why it seems invisible to you sometimes. That programming, that blueprint is your root frequency, and it has been broadcasting continuously ever since. Selecting the relationships, the financial experiences, the level of success that match what it believes to be true about you and about what you deserve. Here's what makes this so important to understand. You did not choose that blueprint. It was impressed upon you before you had the awareness or the capacity to choose or question it, before you even knew you had a choice, before you understood that the messages you were absorbing were not actually universal truth. They were simply the beliefs of the environment you happened to be born into, which means, and I want you to really hear this, the root frequency you're currently broadcasting is not a reflection of who you truly are. It is a reflection of what you were taught to believe about who you are. And those are two very different things. The root frequency can be changed. The blueprint can be rewritten. The assumptions that have been quietly running your life on autopilot can be identified, understood, and permanently shifted. But not by working on the surface, not by ignoring, not by pretending it's not there. Trust me, I tried. Only by going to the root. And the first step always is understanding what your root frequency is currently broadcasting, which means being willing to look honestly at your reality. Look honestly at what your reality is showing you and asking not, why does this keep happening to me? But what must I be broadcasting at the root level for this to keep showing up with such absolute consistency? That question, asked honestly and followed all the way, is the beginning of all true transformation. Now, I want to pause here for a moment because if what I'm sharing is landing, if you can feel yourself recognizing your own patterns in what I'm describing, if you're starting to sense that your reality has been trying to show you something about your root frequency, which it always is, by the way, that you haven't fully faced yet, this is exactly the work that I do with my one-on-one clients. We go into your specific frequency, the specific blueprint that has been broadcasting underneath your conscious manifestation work, quietly, continuously selecting realities you never consciously chose. And we do the deep subconscious work to rewrite it permanently. If you're ready for that, the link to book a free strategy call with me is in the description and in the pinned comment. Let's look at what your reality is showing you about your root frequency, and let's get to work changing it. Most teachings, as I said before, imply that your vibration attracts things to you like a magnet, pulling experiences from somewhere out there into your reality. And while that metaphor captures something real, it's not the most complete or most empowering picture of what is actually happening. Your frequency is not attracting from somewhere else. Frequency is selecting which reality, which already existing reality you're tuned into, which version of your life you're currently inhabiting, which parallel reality is your now experience. Think of it like a radio dial. The stations were always broadcasting. You didn't create the music by tuning in. You simply moved the dial until your frequency matched the station, and then it appeared. Not because you attracted it from somewhere distant, but because you tuned to the frequency where it already existed. That is what your root frequency is doing at every moment. It is the position of your inner dial, and your outer reality is simply the station you are currently tuned to. You can think of it in terms of states, as Neville described it. Your frequency is the state, and all the evidence of that state fills in around you. All the evidence is already there, contained in that state. Which means, and this is the piece that changes everything, shifting your reality is never about working harder on the outside. Never about doing more, trying harder, finding the right technique, sending your energy out to change people or circumstances. No, it is always only about moving the dial, your dial, about shifting the root frequency so that you are tuned to the parallel reality where what you desire is simply already true. And the dial only moves from the inside, through the blueprint, through the subconscious assumptions that are currently holding the dial in place, regardless of how much conscious effort you apply on the surface. This is why Neville said what he said. There is no one to change but self. No circumstance to fix, no external reality to manipulate, only the dial, only the root frequency, only the self, only the assumption, not the conscious thoughts or affirmations, but the deeply held beliefs. When self changes at the root, the dial moves and a different reality becomes your experience. Now, there is a shadow side to how the manifestation community talks about frequency, and it goes like this. If you're experiencing something painful or unwanted, it must mean your frequency is low, which means something is wrong with you, which means you need to fix it quickly and get back to high vibes before more bad things manifest. And that framing creates something quite dangerous. It creates spiritual bypassing. When people perform high vibes on the surface while suppressing and avoiding the very emotions and wounds that their root frequency is actually trying to get their attention by, the bypass looks like I won't let myself feel sad because that will lower my vibration. I'll just shift my energy. I'll focus on gratitude. I'll push through. But the grief that doesn't get felt doesn't go away. It goes underground, into the subconscious, into the body, into the root frequency. Real frequency work, the kind that actually shifts your results permanently, requires you to go into the lower frequencies first, to feel them fully, to get curious about them. You have nothing to fear inside of yourself, to understand what they are made of and where they came from. The shadow is not the enemy of high frequency. The shadow is the doorway to it. When you're willing to go into the uncomfortable frequency, to sit with it honestly, to trace it to its roots, that is when the root frequency can genuinely shift. It does not shift because you forced yourself to feel better. That's temporary effort, and the moment you let up on efforting, Guess what's right there below the surface? You will shift because you finally felt what was actually there. And in feeling it fully and understanding it completely, it transforms. That is the frequency work that changes lives, and it requires going into the dark before you can genuinely and permanently inhabit the light. I know people fear the dark, but my work is to help you get acquainted with it and anything else you fear, really, because fear only has the power that you give it. You have all the power when you take your power back. So, how do you actually begin to shift your root frequency? Here's the framework I use and also teach my clients. Step one, take an honest look at your reality. Look at what is actually showing up in your life right now, not what you want to be showing up, but actually look at the patterns, the recurring experiences, the ceilings you keep hitting. Ask with genuine curiosity, if this is showing me my root frequency, what is it telling me? What must I be broadcasting at the subconscious level for this to keep showing up with such consistency? Step two, distinguish surface from root. Is this pattern a one-off or is it recurring? Consistent patterns across different circumstances and different people are always root frequency. Surface frequency fluctuates. Root frequency is consistent, painfully consistent sometimes. If it keeps showing up, it's coming from the root. Step three, trace it to its origin. Where did this root frequency first get established? What was the environment, the message, the early experience? You are not looking to re traumatize yourself, but you are looking to understand yourself. So much can transform through understanding alone, because understanding the origin of a root frequency is what allows you to stop being unconsciously run by it and start seeing it as just the programming that can absolutely be changed. Step four, do the deeper work. This is where genuine transformation happens. The subconscious reprogramming, working at the level where the root frequency actually lives. Identifying the core assumption, understanding where it came from, and doing inner work to rewrite it permanently. When the root shifts, your entire dial moves. The parallel reality you are tuned to changes, and your outer world begins to reflect the new frequency automatically. Step five, embody the new frequency from the inside. Inhabit the inner state of the version of you who exists in the parallel reality where what you desire simply already is. Not performing it for the outside world, but genuinely internally practicing living from the new root frequency and how you speak to yourself and what you allow and what you decide you are no longer available for, and how you fully let yourself be seen. That embodiment, practiced consistently and anchored at the root, is what moves the dial permanently. And what your dial lands on becomes your reality. Learning to think in terms of frequencies, real frequencies, root frequencies, changed everything for me. Not because it gave me a new technique, but because it gave me a completely new relationship with my own reality. The ability to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And I did ask that a lot. And it allowed me to start asking, what is this showing me about my programming, my blueprint? And that shift from someone at the mercy of their circumstances to someone who can read their own signal and change it at the source is one of the most profound and empowering things I've ever achieved. You are not a passive receiver of whatever shows up in your reality. You are the broadcaster. You are the dial. And the root frequency you're broadcasting from your inner world is always precisely creating the reality you are living. Your patterns are not punishment, they are data. Your reoccurring experiences are not just bad luck, they are your root frequency made visible. Your ceiling is not a wall, it is an invitation to go deeper into the root, into the blueprint, into the place where the real shift has always been waiting. And when you go there, when you do the real work at the root level, the dial moves, the parallel reality shifts. It's the way this whole thing is designed. So it can't not, if you know what I mean. And the life you have been trying to manifest from the surface becomes simply the life you are now living. What do you think your reality has been trying to show you? Drop me a comment down below. Let me know. I want to hear from you guys. If you're ready to do this work at the deepest level to identify your root frequency, understand your blueprint, and permanently shift the dial, there's a link in the description down below. You can still book a free strategy call with me. There's also a link in the pinned comment. Thank you guys so much for watching this one. See you in the next one.